But what about the civil rights? I mean, that's not the civil rights. Well, we have 20 million blacks on this continent. In Hollywood history, there have been stars who considered themselves upper class, seeing people of color as beneath them. They spewed venomous insults, flatly refused to work with certain individuals, and even committed acts of violence against them. Those words, those actions, might have seemed destined to be buried under the spotlight, but the truth always emerged, harsh and unyielding. Apwani, you were a little more African than me. And the ending was never gentle. They had roles cut, contracts torn up, careers plummeted from the top just because of a cruel moment in speech or thought. Not because Hollywood was perfect, but because some boundaries are unforgivable. Let's explore 15 of the most blatantly racist figures, where a single word, a single discriminatory attitude crushed careers that seemed unshakable. Number 1. John Wayne, white supremacy. John Wayne, the Hollywood cowboy icon, was once admired nationwide as the epitome of strength and resilience. But a 1971 interview suddenly tainted his legacy with controversy. In a blunt response to Playboy magazine, Wayne stated, "I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility." What seemed like a personal opinion of that era, under modern scrutiny, became irrefutable evidence of deep prejudice and contempt for an entire community's dignity. It didn't stop there. Wayne also spoke coldly about Native Americans. In his view, European occupation of their land was a survival issue rather than a mistake. These viewpoints, once glossed over in history, now sound jarring and provoke outrage. A hero icon was revealed as a figure aligned with prejudice, impossible for many to overlook. As society began re-evaluating cultural legacies, John Wayne's name was no longer untouchable. Communities called for removing his name and monuments from public spaces. The Orange County, California airport, once named after him, became a hot topic of debate. Proposals to rename and remove Wayne-associated symbols struck directly at the Hollywood legacy he left behind. Even museums took action. An exhibition at a university that had celebrated Wayne was removed, as it became clear that praising him without criticizing racist statements was unacceptable. Scholars, students, and communities protested, turning Wayne's once glorious past into a painful lesson on prejudice and power. Unlike modern scandals, John Wayne was not fired, nor did he lose contracts as he had passed away in 1979. But the consequences for his legacy were clear. His name and monuments, once celebrated, are now scrutinized and constantly debated. The image of the American hero suddenly became a symbol of conservative past and societal ideas no longer tolerated. Today, whenever John Wayne is mentioned, it is not only as a film legend, but also as a contested symbol, a shadow of prejudice and racism. Once brilliant fame is now overshadowed by unforgettable words, reminding generations of the power and consequences of speech. John Wayne is not the only name on this shocking list. Behind him, there is another figure whose actions make even despair shudder. 2. Don Cherry, targeting immigrants on national television. Show a little respect. Watch this here tonight. We've got him with Crosby. Don Cherry, a longtime icon of Canadian hockey and familiar face on Hockey Night in Canada, shocked the nation in November 2019. During a Coach's Corner segment, he addressed areas with high immigrant populations such as Toronto and Mississauga, suggesting these people should buy poppies to honor fallen soldiers, using the phrase "you people" directly at them. The remarks were immediately deemed racist, offensive to immigrant communities, sparking intense social media outrage. The public viewers and immigrant advocacy organizations did not forgive. Tens of thousands of complaints were sent to media regulators. while journalists and politicians continuously criticized Cherry's statement. Many argued that he was sowing division, creating a us versus them mentality between immigrants and Canadians. Even Cherry's colleague, Ron MacLean, apologized to the audience for failing to respond appropriately when the offensive remarks were broadcast. Pressure from public opinion and colleagues escalated, forcing the network to act quickly. Criticism kept rising, turning a personal statement into a national scandal. Just one day after the broadcast, Sportsnet, the company airing the program, announced that Cherry would leave Coach's Corner immediately. The decision ended nearly 40 years of his television career, marking a painful turning point in a once-admired career. In its statement, Sportsnet emphasized that Cherry's words were divisive, offensive, and do not reflect the values we stand for. His dismissal was seen as a strong message. No one, no matter how famous or powerful, is allowed to spread prejudice on national television. After being fired, Don Cherry showed no remorse. He insisted what he said was correct, that all Canadians should respect fallen soldiers and refuse to be controlled in speech. His stance divided the public. Some supported his freedom of speech, but the majority felt his comments had crossed the line and caused deep harm. What do you think of Cherry's viewpoint? Share your opinion. Now, let's move on to an even more controversial figure. 3. Roseanne Barr, a tweet that caused disaster. This morning, Roseanne Barr said that she was leaving Twitter after apologizing for a racist joke that prompted ABC to cancel her show. Tonight, she's back on Twitter, posting a flurry of tweets. Roseanne Barr, once considered one of America's most powerful comedy icons, destroyed her career with a single tweet. It was not an accidental comment, not a slip of the tongue before cameras, but a cold, deliberate statement typed by her own fingers and sent into the world instantly. When Barr compared Valerie Jarrett, a black advisor to the White House, to the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes, the online world exploded immediately. The words went beyond humor. They pierced into America's painful history of racism, striking exactly the raw nerve society had tried to mend for decades. The wave of backlash was like a raging storm. Journalists, artists, activists, and audiences all stood up in protest. Tweets, posts, and analysis videos poured in like a flood, pointing out that Barr's words were inexcusable. No one saw the witty, rebellious Roseanne anymore, only a person using words to demean others and harm an entire community. While public outrage roared, ABC, airing the reboot of Roseanne with high ratings, descended into chaos. Emergency meetings were held within hours. Production teams were stunned, the cast shocked, and ABC leadership realized they faced a situation with no turning back. Keeping Roseanne meant destroying their own image. Thus, a decision was made faster than anyone could imagine. The show was canceled entirely. Barr's contract was terminated immediately. ABC's announcement struck like lightning in broad daylight, cutting through Hollywood. A popular series was erased in less than an afternoon. The network declared Barr's remarks abhorrent, offensive, and completely inconsistent with ABC's values. Immediately after, her agency, ICM Partners, severed ties. In Hollywood, when your agency turns away, it's like losing the last lifeline. Roseanne Barr panicked and issued an apology, but the apology came too late and too weak before a firestorm of outrage. The public continued to push back, calling it an apology to save her reputation, not true remorse, and no one wanted to listen to her anymore. The consequences spread further. Networks refused to rebroadcast old Roseanne episodes. Former partners cut ties. Other actors rushed to save their jobs, resulting in the new series The Conners, without Barr in any frame. She was erased as if she had never existed. From decades of fame, Roseanne Barr fell into a deep abyss overnight. No more laughter,